Where's II? Well, when do we begin? Asta?
Yeah, it's 11 we start.
Okay.
Sir, no need of mic.
No mic. Okay, okay. Well, I think we're all ready to begin. Can anyone see us out there? All the different participants? Please wave if you can. Yeah, fair number wave. Well, okay, welcome everybody. This is the beginning of our effort at not just bringing the plan to people, but actually bringing the people to the plan. I want to thank Sam Pitroda for actually originating this idea that we should connect with people. I also want to thank NIC for providing us the infrastructure capability that is actually allowing us to talk to all of you simultaneously. Let me just spend a few minutes on, what I think we're going to get out of it. Probably the single most important thing is that people in universities, young people who are interested in the country, are getting their hands on a particular problem anchored on what we are saying in the plan. One of the problems with planning, as it has been in the past, is that the Planning Commission produces a big 1,000-page document. That becomes, for the Planning Commission, the basis of discussion. We then work with the ministries in the course of the year, trying to implement this plan as best as we can. But to the vast majority of people, there's really not much understanding other than what you get on the day the plan is approved. Now, actually, since it's a 5-year plan, we need a system where people get their hands into it and actually try to work on some of the key areas. Sam is going to talk to you a little bit about the more technical side of how to run this hackathon, and I just want to talk about the plan for maybe another 10 or 12 minutes. A lot of people ask us, what is this plan? And I mean, one view is it's a big book with essays on every sector and kind of says a whole lot of things about general objectives, the money that's going to be spent, center versus states' activity and role, policies, and so on. Now, I think we've narrowed it down for the purpose of this hackathon to a select number of sectors. Macroeconomic framework, agriculture and rural development, health, water and environment, energy, education and skill development, and urban development. There are many other areas in the plan, but in order to make it manageable, we're asking individuals, groups, to look at these things and come out with a whole variety of output. Sam will talk about that in a little bit. From my point of view, I think you should keep in mind the following very big classifications. Number one, in each of these areas, there's a very clear national target. Now, you may like that target or you may not like that target. So one of the important things for you to look at is, do you like the broad targets? Second, you may ask the question that, targets are fine, but what on earth in the plan is it that will actually achieve those targets? And there, you need to make two different distinctions. The first distinction is the distinction between plan programs and policies. I think this is a distinction not adequately made even amongst the professional classes. Far too many people think the plan is programs, and it is, in the sense that the plan guides the government in how it is going to spend its money. I mean, it would be completely absurd if the government programs were not aligned with the plan. But you've got to realize that national targets are not going to be achieved only by government programs. I mean, let's look at growth. This is now a dominantly private sector-led economy. 75% of the investment that takes place in the economy is in the private sector. So really the role of the government is important, but it is very far from being even the majority. Now, obviously, some government programs help private investment. For example, I mean, if energy is something which comes from both public and private investment, then what we do in public investment in energy actually helps create energy availability, which helps investment in a whole range of other sectors. Similarly, if roads are going to be built, again by a combination of public and private investment, that's going to help investment in the rest of the economy. So there is a linkage. But there are many other programs that don't directly affect private investment. You know, on the other hand, policies do. There are a lot of government policies which actually determine whether individuals want to invest in this sector or that sector, and sometimes even whether individuals want to invest at all. To what extent do they invest their savings by simply putting it in their own company or family enterprise or small unorganized sector enterprise? To what extent do they put their savings in the financial system, which then recycles it to other people? So wherever you want to look at, whatever target you have in mind, I think you should keep in mind what's the role of government resources, what's the role of private resources in reaching that target. Then when you come to government, the central government is only one part of government. There's the central government, there's state governments, and below the states there are the local governments, the Panchayati Raj institutions and urban local bodies. So a lot of what we say government should do is really saying this should be done by the central government, this should be done by state government. I believe that failure to realize that a lot of what we think is necessary is the exclusive responsibility of the state governments. That is why I think our debate is not actually being conducted as well as it should be. So I think in the work you do, in the infographics you do, in the little whatever films you make, some realization that certain things can only be done by the central government and certain things have to be done by the state government. Let me illustrate this point. Energy is one of the things that we have as a sector. Now, you know, when it comes to energy, the policy regarding petroleum prices is a policy decided by the state government. The policy regarding coal being a nationalized sector is a policy decided by the central government. But you know, in order for mining to take place, a lot of forest clearance, environment clearance is necessary. That's an area in which the state governments have a very big role to play. What is the price that should be charged to the consumer? This is really decided by the State Electricity Regulatory Commission, which is actually a state-level body. What is the efficiency with which a distribution system is functioning? Does it have the autonomy needed in order to become a well-run energy distribution system? This is entirely in the hands of the state government. So I think when you look at what needs to be done, I think it would be a great improvement if we could get a clear sense that this is the job of the central government and this is the job of the state government, and some of it goes even lower down into local governments. That's an important thing. But, you know, in addition to that, there are policies. Now, for example, you know, we often hear that there are delays, bureaucratic delays. How much of that is coming at the central government level? How much of that is coming at the state government level? And how much of that is coming at the local level? I mean, for example, building and clearance permissions, they're all local. Central government can do nothing about it. State governments probably can do a lot about it, but it's actually the local administration that is running the show. Those of you who are going to look at issues of manufacturing or manufacturing, not a specific segment here, But certainly when you look at urban development, a very large number of the challenges in the urban development area constitutionally are in the realm of state governments. And I think that links up to whether the state governments can mobilize resources in order to do what is necessary, but it also links up with whether the policies they are following make any sense. There's a lot that can be done to generate resources through policies that are followed at state government level. I mean, for example, many state governments have arbitrarily reduced the rate of property taxation. That's a good populist kind of thing to do. But you know, the state government may be reducing the level of property taxation, but what it means is that the city doesn't get enough resources in order to spend money on the services it needs, and the state very rarely compensates the city for that. And if, on the other hand, you want a kind of urban future in which the quality of urban services is going to improve, then it's not going to be feasible unless there's a reasonable financial contribution from those who actually are going to benefit from these services. And of course, there are issues of cross-subsidization. I mean, you can't tax the poor. But you know, how many are the poor in cities? 20%, 30%, even 40%. The remaining 60% actually need to pay for the services, and the top level in that group need to cross-subsidize the cheaper services we are providing on the whole. I'm just giving you these examples that there are a lot of interconnections. I mean, the macroeconomic framework which deals with resources determines how much you can do through a government program, government resource intensive approach in each of the sectors that you're talking about. Well, I said the idea was to get all of you involved. That's very important. I do think we will learn something from it. Because, you know, one of the problems in the way the plan is formulated is that we get a lot of feedback on the day the plan is announced, and after that, it's really a budget-making process. We get feedback from ministries, we get feedback from states. We almost never get any feedback from the country at large. Finally, those of you that are doing infographics, you know, please remember that, you know, the essence of planning is that you set what look like high targets, because the purpose of planning is also to respond to aspirational desires. It's absolutely useless to look at the end result and say you didn't get 100% success. No planner expects to get 100% success. The real question is, are we getting 90%? Are we getting 80%? And my guess is if you're only getting 50%, that's pretty bad, because everybody gets some success. So I think when you look at what's happening, please keep in mind the glass is never full. But you know, if it's getting close to being fuller than it was, that's pretty good. And if it gets actually close, nearly close to the top, that's very good. I hope that when you look at, particularly in each of these sectors, if you look at the past and try to project the future, you'll keep in mind that, you know, you need to take a balanced view of whether progress is being made or not being made. Now, I don't want to exceed my time. I was told this is the amount of time I have, and you now have Sam, who's going to go into a lot more detail on what you should actually be doing. Sam.
Thank you. Thanks, Montek. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Hackathon. First, I want to thank Montek for taking this initiative. He was the one who essentially talked about this in the beginning. It was his idea that we need to take this 12th plan to the people. And our young team here at the Planning Commission did all the groundwork. And I'm delighted that finally we are all connected. I want to thank NIC and people at NKN for the connectivity. Let's begin with the objective today. The main objective today is to really help communicate 12th plan to people at large. And rather than hiring PR agencies, we are really going for crowd creativity. We want intelligent, capable young people at our universities to really look at the plan, understand it, and come up with ways and means to help communicate this to the country. To do that, first you need to really understand the plan. Read a little bit, dig into it, and then decide the audience that you want to focus on and the subject you want to focus on. Montek went through all the subjects and gave you an overview of the 12th plan and the process. Thereafter, you need to decide what to communicate, how to communicate, whom to communicate with. And you have lots of tools to do this, whether you use graphics, sound bites, human stories, you come up with some kind of video clips, use interesting, creative ways to present this plan, put it on mobile phones, use smartphones. But the main objective is to come up with what I call SOCO, single overriding communication objective. What is your SOCO? What are you trying to do? You're trying to tell somebody 12th plan is all about this or that, and it will do this or that for you. I think it is important to get people involved in this process. I'm delighted that we have taken this initiative. Today we have tools to do it. We have connectivity, smartphones, laptops, tablets all over. And I think through these tools, we can really reach out to larger number of people. Not that everybody has all these tools. There are millions who have no access to it. We understand that. But even if 20% of the people have access, I think it's good to communicate to them and get them involved in the beginning. Like Montek said in the past, we never got large number of people to do these kinds of things. This is a new tool. It's a new experiment. Let's see how it works. Maybe we will learn some lessons from this. It is all about engaging people. It is all about people's participation. We want to hear your voices. We want to see your interpretation of what Planning Commission has for us in the next 5 years. We want a lot more decentralization, because at the end of the day, people make things happen. Things don't happen in Delhi. Things really happen in district, panchayats, and cities. If people there understand enough about this process, maybe they will help improve in implementation programs. And they would also feel that they are party to it, as opposed to always criticizing government. It is fashionable to criticize government, which is okay. But at times you find out that people really don't know, and the criticism comes out of unknown. And this is one way to engage people, so they begin to know what's in the plan, how it is being perceived in Delhi. What does it mean to the state? What does it mean to the district? And at the end, if I'm a farmer, what do I get out of it? If I'm a student, what's my future out of this? Not only what I get, but also how do I participate? It's easy to stand there and say, what do I get out of it? It's difficult to say, what do I do to help in this process? And I think the whole exercise is just about creativity. Rather than asking 5 people to be creative, we are asking thousands of our young people to bring their creativity to table through crowdsourcing. I'm delighted that our young team has put together a good program. They have spent a lot of time, long hours in sort of designing and packaging it. And I'm sure if this one goes successful, and it will, it'll be easy for us in the future to do more of these, not only on the plan, but on many other subjects. This could be a new tool that we can all use to come together, understand, debate on an issue, and take our message to a large number of people. I believe we are not very good at communication, especially in the government. We are not good at communicating within our own teams, leaving aside people at large. We are also not good at collaborations. We don't collaborate well. And I hope this exercise will help us in collaborating better, in communicating better, and also in identifying talent that's out there in the field. You might come up with a genius out there who would really be so creative that he may get an Oscar for a little clip like this. So I want to encourage you to think about it carefully. You have 32 hours to really bring your creativity together, and I'm sure you can get on to various tools. We request you to go to Facebook on this. I'm sure there is Twitter, going on at the same time. There are lots of people sending messages across. Get engaged, get involved, and help us and help the country. Thank you very much.
We now have a presentation on.
So now there is going to be a brief presentation by our young team on little more details. And thereafter, Vikas, do you want to open up for a little bit of question answers for them? We could do that since Montek is here.
Why don't you do the question now and then do the...
Yeah, fine.
Okay, why don't we have a little interactive session now if some of you have questions for Montek and I, and then we'll give you a quick presentation because Montek has another engagement at 11:35, so he needs to sign off. So why don't you just shoot? Raise your hand and I'm sure we'll connect and we can hear you. Go ahead.
Any questions from here?
Okay, Madras, start a question. Quick.
Up there.
Good morning, everybody. Sir, I would like to ask how effective state planning commissions are. Because we talk about decentralization, we talk about participation from the grassroots. How effective are the state planning commissions functioning?
Good question.
How effective is the planning commission?
State level.
Yeah. Well, let me say that we formally interact with the states quite a lot, and in the last couple of years, we've been doing much more. The normal formal interaction takes place in two fora. First, at the National Development Council, when the plan is approved, but generally every year on a particular subject, there is a meeting of the National Development Council where all the chief ministers come. It's easy to regard these as merely formal events, but I have the privilege of listening to all chief ministers through the day. And I can assure you that at the end of this, we have a very, very good idea of what is actually bugging the state chief ministers. So there are two issues that came up in the last NDC, which I want to draw attention to. First, many chief ministers said that right now we are facing a problem that we've created generation capacity in the power sector and there are serious fuel supply problems. There's not enough coal, and with gas we have an even bigger problem. Now that came across very loud and clear. Every chief minister listed all the little things in their states, but a clear message from many chief ministers was that this is a problem. The Prime Minister actually asked the Planning Commission that you better take a look at this and see what we can do about it. The Government of India has actually got both the Ministries of Power and the Ministries of Coal and the Ministry of Petroleum trying to see how we can resolve the problem. Now, in the short run, what it means is you've got to import the coal. But there's a problem. Coal import is much more expensive. So who gets to buy the imported coal? Can we share the burden? These things are really being sorted out right now. Another area which I think came up very strongly was the states want more flexibility in the government schemes. And we're responding to that also. very shortly.
Next quick question, and we'll
Uh,
take few more.
Sir, government is like there is lots of criticism which says education system is facing lots of problems, and there is a lot of gap. We create graduates, but they are not employable. So what is how can we? What is the way out for this problem, which India?
I would say read National Knowledge Commission report. It has lot of recommendations in there. Can we take question from other facility?
Yes,
Sure. Okay, Aligarh Muslim University, please.
Aligarh Muslim,
Please.
from Aligarh Muslim University.
Okay, good morning, sir. And we really appreciate the actions that you have taken and bringing us together over here. I'm Dr. Najam Khalik from JN Medical College. And as far as the health sector is concerned and other sectors are concerned, in the health sector, generally we talk of community participation. And it is good that you have brought about a very important connection between the people and the government as far as what are the demands of the people. Most of the programs that you have actually come from the top, and we do not know what the people are needing now. And this is the right time now that the 12th plan has already started, and I do not know how much more time are you going to take to bring into action whatever you have said now. Because this is just an initiation now of connecting people and getting their feedback towards how the plan should function. So I think so, the better you go forward, the better results you will have in carrying out the plans that you have in place.
Thank you. So I assume this was a comment and not a question. Yeah. Okay, next.
Yes, go ahead.
Speak now. Speak now.
Delhi University. Delhi University.
Morning, sir.
Morning.
I have a small basic question, which relates to the functions. I mean, so you're doing an important, very, very sterling work sitting there, sir, in the Planning Commission. And as I understand, sir, what you do will translate to programs and projects for the country, sir. My question here is, sir, as brought out partly by the speakers, the principal stakeholders, as I understand, your mechanism works from taking inputs from the states, sitting down together and working out. So the question is, the principal stakeholder in this entire program is the citizen at the end of the day. Are we taking his inputs and how, sir? First, sir. Secondly, sir, when you look at a program for a country as large as ours, sir, and it was education for me personally, sir, when you go into a country like Saudi Arabia with 20 million population or Australia for 4 million. We are talking about 120 crores of people and programs related to that.
Australia is not 4 million.
Pardon that, sir. So the question that I'm coming to is, sir, when we talk about these programs, is there a mechanism in place to ensure optimization of revenue, sir? Optimization of costs as it should do in any program or project, sir? Example there is, sir, the example that I would like to cite.
Can you be brief? Can you be brief,
Yes,
please? Because then we can cover a lot of others.
Right, sir. The example that I'll cite specifically here is number of states that are following various programs. All of them are going around bidding things across the country, across the globe, sir. Is there a thought process where within the country we set up own units to do these things? Firstly, the optimized costs. We remove the dependency on the technicals, those small programs which come to us from Europe, South Korea, or whatever, sir. So are we addressing these issues of integration on programs, sir?
You know, I think the point you make is an important one, and let me say that within the government, this business of getting feedback, finding out what people actually think, is conveyed by their representatives and also by direct interaction. I mean, in our case, what we are doing right now is creating a new mechanism of feedback. So I don't think that you should view government as first doing some consulting and then working out a plan and then just implementing it. This is a continuous process. And I think all the issues you raise in a well-functioning system would be constantly built into the thing. You know, at the same time, I would argue that there's a lot of room for experimentation. So personally, I think that in what we are doing, we want to create windows where states that want to experiment are allowed to experiment, and then we'll judge which experiment works well.
Can we get a question from some young members there? Yes, I see Jammu University. Yeah, go ahead. Good.
Sir, I'm Ritika Patania from Jammu University, and my question is that how effective is the implementation of this plan at the grassroots level, at the rural level, and especially what is the accountability of the funds that are spent in this planning commission for the plans to be implemented at the rural level? What is the accountability of the funds? So that is all.
All government spending is subject to ex post audit and review and accountability. If you look at some of our major programs, like take the Magnarega program, it is probably subjected to more sort of ex post review than almost any other program. I think in the last 3 years, there have been probably hundreds of studies that tell you what is happening. In the Planning Commission, we ourselves have set up something called the Independent Evaluation Organization, which is going to conduct independent evaluations of whether these programs are working well or not working well. And our own experience is that it's generally very clear which program is working well and which program is not working well. But how you reflect that in your decision making is really twofold. One is you should put more money into programs that are working well and squeeze the ones that aren't. And the second is, of course, for all programs, you should try to improve how they can do better. The last is not something that only the central government can do, because virtually all these programs, the central government provides money, but the implementation of the program is done by state-level organizations. So it has to be something in which state-level organizations also devote a lot of time on.
I saw a hand from IIT Kharagpur.
IIT Bangalore.
Yeah, then we come to IIT Bangalore.
Yeah, sir, I actually wanted to, similar types of questions have been asked before, but they were not at the level of specificity that I wanted. What I wanted to know is, of course, this is a nice step that Planning Commission is taking of crowdsourcing the publicity of the plan. But what are the plans for crowdsourcing the plan itself? What I mean by crowdsourcing the plan is getting people's views on it and having people make the plan instead of a centralized body named the Planning Commission, because there has been ample criticism of centralized planning and how it has been unsuccessful over the last 65 years after independence, and how we need to go for decentralized Gandhian planning sort of a thing.
Well, let me respond very quickly. Number one, you say planning has been unsuccessful in 65 years.
That's wrong.
First of all, in the first 20 years, we grew at 3.5%. In the next 20 years, we grew at 5.5%. In the last 10 years, we've grown at 8%. Now, I do not know whether you are aware of those facts, and if you are aware of those facts, would you say that planning has been generally unsuccessful in the last 65 years? I think if you look at the transition over time, we've moved from being what was generally regarded as one of the poorest performing countries in the world to what is today regarded as one of the best performing. Current year is not so good, but I think if you take a 5-10 year average, it looks very good. So quite frankly, I question the proposition that planning has been unsuccessful. When I say planning, I'm not talking about the Planning Commission. We are just the only ministry that has the name planning. I mean, ultimately, we are really one part of a whole government, and that government fixes money for different ministries, fixes policies. We interact with the states pick up. So I'm talking about the entire governmental process. I totally question the notion that it has been unsuccessful. Now, it's a different matter to say, how do we do it better? Now, for example, 10 years ago, the feeling was that some of the poorest states were growing very slowly. We responded to that. And today, the fact is the poorest states are growing much faster than the national average. Now, I think, if we don't give credence to the things we succeed in, we're really not going to get anywhere. I'm throwing this out as a challenge to you. If you disagree with this, by all means say so. But whatever you say, you've got to keep in mind, growth has accelerated, income levels have gone up, rural income levels have gone up, real rural wages have gone up, poorer states are growing much faster. Now, what I want you to think about is, what do you conclude from that? If you conclude this is not good enough, you're right. We should be doing better. But to say that it has not succeeded, I think is giving not the right picture. Anyway, that's my view. You tell us your view.
Can we go to Bangalore?
A very good morning, sir. I have a question. So,
Yes, sir.
we had a plan and a performance for the 11th 5-year. And now, what feedback have we got from the 11th 5-year, and how have we integrated in the 12th 5-year plan, and what has been conveyed to the government? So this is the first one. And the second one is, so Montek sir was mentioning that we had grown really far. So my question is, when you do a like-to-like comparison with the countries like China, Brazil, and all the BRIC countries, we have been having a huge current account deficit and fiscal deficit. So in that case, how do you say, sir? But with the developed countries, we can say that our growth is really high. But comparing with other developing countries, we are not performed that much, right, sir?
Very good question, and I congratulate you. First of all, while I'm still on the connection, those of you probably have the plan document. If you want to get an assessment of why we think that we haven't done so badly in the last 5 years, please read chapter 1, box 1. That tells you what is the progress we made in the 11th plan on inclusive growth. And actually, it would be quite good, please send me personally an email. If you think box 1 of chapter 1 is rubbish, I really would like to know. If you think it's good, you don't have to send the email. I'll just assume. I'll only count the ones that are actually being negative. Now, on the question of I agree with you that we must judge our performance by what other countries are doing. Right now, in the last year, that just over a week ago, India grew at 5%, and quite rightly, many people, including the government, are very concerned at this slowdown, and we want to go back up to 8%. So what have other countries done? Here's the answer. United States, less than 2%. Japan, 0. Eurozone, negative. Brazil, 2.5%. South Africa, 1.7%. Russia, 3.5%. India, 5%. Yes. China, 7.5%. But remember, China is the fastest growing developing country over the last 25 years. We've always been 2 to 3%, really nearly 3% below China for the last several years. China used to grow above 11%, they've slowed down to 7.5%. We were growing at above 8%, 9%, we've slowed down to something like 5 right now, but I do believe that's temporary. So even if you make that comparison, there's no doubt the data will bear out. In the 60s and the 70s, we grew slower than the other developing countries. In the last 10 years, we've grown faster. And that is the key answer to the question that you posed.
Okay.
IIT Kanpur.
Anybody else? Did we miss Kanpur? Last question.
IIT Kanpur.
Okay.
Yes.
Please.
Good morning, sir.
Oh, then we have to have Hyderabad again.
My question is regarding hackathon scalability. And there are lots of other hackathon similar events are happening by the private companies. And there are lots more scalable. There are lots of centers. But I'm seeing here very limited participation, the limited number of centers. Why so?
No, we have 10 centers, 3,000 people. So I think it's pretty good for the first one. That's not a small number. I think it's a manageable number. Anything more than that would be really not manageable as a first trial.
Very good presentation now.
Sir, there is a question from Aligarh Muslim University. Mr. Ali.
You already had a question. Can I just request Hyderabad, and then we have covered everybody with one question at least? Quick, Hyderabad.
Yeah, hello sir. Thanks for this opportunity first of all. My question is more related to this hackathon. I understand the SOCO thing that you're mentioning. Now the thing that I was thinking is that I have some sectors and data sets. As you were saying, you have to be creative and all. And if I take some liberty and try to express myself in a better way, then this association ends tomorrow, or will it continue somehow? If I create an app and that's a demo app, could I expect that this association extends because that app may need some refinement? So could I expect this association that it will be ending tomorrow, or it will be a kind of continuous improvement to it.
Both answer. It will end tomorrow and it will continue after tomorrow also. Okay?
So, yeah.
So in one sense, it will end tomorrow for your price and judge and all. But for your participation, it will continue. If it's a good idea, we'll pick it up. So be positive. Don't have a deadline, but you can extend your deadline. Okay? I think we have covered all the questions. Maybe this is the time to go to a presentation. Okay, let's hear the presentation and then we'll see what we do. Okay, thank you.
Hello everyone, this is the young team of the Planning Commission. Here's a quick hello from all of us.
Hello. Hi guys.
We'll take you through this quick presentation which basically covers what you need to do over the next 32 hours, how to get started, sources of information, how do we keep in constant touch, submissions, judging, and some more details.
Good.
So how do we begin? There are three categories. As all of you know, you've registered for these three categories. One, you can create visualizations on any of the selected sectors, on any of the current or proposed initiatives in any of these sectors. So if you look at the sectors page, there are current or proposed initiatives under each sector. Language is not a barrier. Hindi, English, any Indian regional language, we welcome all of it. Next, you could create short films. Keep your films short, 2 to 3 minutes, even lesser is good. Again, on any of the selected sectors and on any of the current and proposed initiatives. Language, again, is not a barrier.
Good idea.
Film format is also not a barrier. Third, you can get into developing applications. We've been receiving questions. You could do web applications, mobile applications, edutainment applications on any of the sectors and the initiatives. Language, again, not a barrier. You can use open source software, but you can do it for any. The fourth category is a very interesting category. Some of you are event journalists. And a lot of you will see these event journalists coming over to you physically. They are uncovering the event. They'll be live. And they are essentially to capture you, your story, and maybe you get famous. So do help them whenever they come, but event journalists, please do not disturb the participants while they're hacking. So how do you begin? One, you get to select, and you've already done mostly, whether you want to create a visualization, a mobile app or a web app, or a short film. Once you've done that, these are the sectors from which you need to select. Macroeconomic framework, agriculture and rural development, health, water and environment, energy, education and skill development, and urban development. All these sectors are mentioned on our website, data.gov.in/hackathon. Now you need to get into and learn more about these sectors. How we have helped you is we've created these sector-specific pages. You will see on the data.gov.in hackathon page, there's a tab on sectors. Once you get into the sectors tab, you will see on the left-hand side a list of these sectors. And there's a snapshot here which you see about the macroeconomic framework. There's a brief introduction given. There's a presentation on each sector. There's the planned chapter on each sector. There are relevant data sets which are either present on data.gov.in or they're present on other sources. You can even go to any other sources if you wish, but please note that you need to take only credible sources of data and you cannot use dummy data. Apart from the overview tab, which gives you all this information and data, there are data sets. That's the second tab you see on this, which gives you data sets present on data.gov.in. These are all data sets in the open government format, which can talk to your applications. The final tab you see is discussions, and we're using Facebook as a key medium to talk to you and keep in touch with you. The discussion tab will give you a link to the specific sector-specific Facebook group. Request all of you to immediately join your sector-specific group. You don't need to join all the groups. If you've chosen education and skill development, join your group on education and skill development. If you've chosen energy, join that group. But do join the group as soon as possible. This is a snapshot of a sector-specific group. for each sector, we have created a separate groups. There are dedicated people from the Planning Commission who will be taking your questions and answering any data-related queries on this. Try to keep your questions very, very brief and related to the data and to the hackathon. We're not going to answer general questions. But as I said earlier, Facebook is going to be our key communication medium for the next 2 days. For the benefit of all of you who are new to the plan, we are having sector-specific interactions from 2 to 5 p.m. today. The detailed schedule is available on the website, also with your local coordinators at the locations. Between 2 to 5, we have sector experts coming from various sectors and talking to you about the sectors. The format of this interaction will be as follows. There'll be a 1-hour interaction on each sector area. A lot of these will be going on in parallel, so decide quickly which ones do you want to attend. Second, there'll be a brief webcast in the beginning where the sector-specific expert will present to you about that area. After that brief webcast, which would last for about 15-20 minutes, you'll get the link of the webcast only through the Facebook group, so please join it. We'll be doing an interaction through the very Facebook group. The webcast will stop and the interaction will go on to Facebook. If you need more data than we've provided you, you can go online, search, do your best, but do not use dummy data. Use data only from very credible sources. That's very important, otherwise it will affect your submissions, might be rejected. And burn the midnight oil. That's the only night. Today is the only night you've got. Unleash your creative best and aim for the gold. A very important note, please do not violate any copyright or any other IP rights. Please see the terms and conditions before you get into the hackathon, and the terms and conditions are available on data.gov.in/hackathon. Submit your entry before 12 noon tomorrow, Sunday, 7th of April. The team member who created your team account on data.gov.in will have to make the submissions. You need to start submitting as soon as you're done. Don't wait for the last minute. And very important to note, you need to submit both the demo and the source for your project. The demo is essentially the demonstration or the presentation you're going to give your judging panel at 2 o'clock tomorrow. You need to create that before 12 o'clock and you need to submit the very same presentation to us so that it can be made available to the judges as well. For more details, please see the how to submit entry page on data.gov.in/hackathon. At 2 o'clock tomorrow, you'll be presenting your entries to the judges. This is across all 3 categories. For online participation, the judging will be done in the next week. So we'll request all the online participants who are not at any of the physical locations but who have registered online to upload their submissions before 12 o'clock, and we'll get back to you in a week's time with who's won on the online. But for all physical locations, you have to be present at 2 p.m. at your location to make the presentation to your judges. Presentation should be maximum 3 minutes, and only the demo will be allowed to be submitted to the judges and to be shown to the judges. There are lots of prizes to be won. I'm sure all of you have seen that, but the details are available on the website. Also, for the Uncover the Event participation, all your entries should be submitted online. There's no presentation. Even if you're uncovering the event from any of the physical locations, there is no presentation to be made. You submit us your story by Monday 12 noon. This is just for Uncover the Event. Okay, so what are the judging criteria? And this is very important and you need to listen to this carefully. One, obviously, your creativity. Second, the visual appeal and usability of your submission. How well it communicates the idea and how well it communicates to the audience for whom you're doing it. And relevance to the 12th plan. Please keep your ambit to the 12th plan. Don't go across it. And in the submission form, we have a special field in the form which says how is your entry relevant to the 12th plan, which you need to explain for the judges to understand. What happens to your submission? Well, the exercise is about India communicating to India, the youth communicating to the youth. The best submissions will be used by the Government of India as part of its communication strategy on the 12th plan. Please note all the submissions are covered under the Creative Commons license or GNU GPL. Lastly, do not forget these important things. The 2 pages you have to keep open for the next 32 hours. One is data.gov.in/hackathon. Please be logged into it. Please go to your sector-specific page and see the information there. Second, join us on facebook.com/PlanComIndia, from where you will get links to all your sector-specific pages. And please be logged into your sector-specific pages. If there are any updates we need to provide you, something new coming up, we'll be communicating to you through these sector-specific pages. If you want to follow us on Twitter, or people who are live tweeting for the next 2 days, and for the media, the hashtag on Twitter is #12thplan. You need to upload your submissions before 12 o'clock. There will be no extension on this timeline. Do not violate any copyrights or IP in your submission. Keep your demos to less than 3 minutes. And most importantly, do enjoy the event. Thank you so much. If there are any queries, we are available to you on Facebook. Thank you.
Good. Very good. Good presentation. I hope it's clear to everybody now. So what's the next stage? Just go off and do it?
Yeah. So we have now at each of the locations a short talk by the location heads, the institution heads, and then we start.
Okay, but we can close this session.
Yes. Yeah, we are closing now.
Unless they have some questions for you on the presentation.
They'll be taken in through Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that okay, everybody?
Yes.
Is it good time to close? Thank you. Thanks a lot. We really appreciate your time and wish you all the best and hope you win the gold. Thank you.
We request the heads of the institutions to let the participants know about the arrangements that have been made at the institution while he is addressing them.
Okay. I hope you heard that. Okay, thanks. I'm going to sign off.